What's up, everyone? All right, so good jump into this. It's just me tonight. Cappy wasn't able to call in until later, and I Austin couldn't make it in, and I did get their bets from them, so we'll get that in for the NFL show. And we'll actually do the NFL show first, just because that's what I got pulled up right now, and I'll cut this and then record the college one. So, jumping into our Thursday night game, we have Pittsburgh versus Cleveland. And right now the spread sits at -4 for Cleveland. Both of these teams, I mean, Cleveland to me, they looked a little bit better this last week than compared to the first week, but I still, just without Deshaun, I don't see them winning. I'm surprised they're at -4. Now I know Steelers hasn't been playing. The first week I think they got a win, but in week 2, they lost to Patriots, and Patriots is always a tough place. Well, it's a tough team to play, I guess, with Belichick. They just don't do anything flashy, so there's not a lot of talk, and there's not a lot of hype around them. People are actually kind of saying they don't look that great, but yet, they keep finding ways to, play games and be in games and stuff like that. It wasn't very flashy. It was a 17-14, win for the Patriots over the Steelers, so I look for Steelers to come out. I know they got to play at Cleveland, but I'm kind of leaning towards them. I'm not putting any actual money on the spread. I thought a little bit about taking the money line at +160, but I haven't decided for sure on that. I might look at seeing what other line options do day of game. So right now, over-under sits at 38.5. I mean, to me, that seems a little low just due to the fact that, Browns just put up 30 points last week. So, but at the same time, I do only see this being like a lower, like 21-14. It'd be hard to see one team getting much past 3 touchdowns because of Steelers' defense against the Browns. But maybe, I doubt we'll get a Ravens versus Dolphins game that we had this week, but maybe they can get above that. So with that being low, I might take it, just because the averages are around 45 in the NFL. So I may look at taking that over there, or now that I think about it. So we'll move on into Sunday's games. Sunday, the first game we got is Houston versus Chicago. Right now, Chicago's 2.5 points favorites, and money line, obviously, for Houston, over-under sitting at 40. Man, I really don't. This isn't going to be a great game, in my opinion. And Bears got destroyed by Packers this week. A little bit of surprise, but yet not, because Packers sucked week 1. But like Rodgers had said in Pat's show that, it's, that's how he always starts. It always seems to happen. And I think that's just due to not getting a ton of reps. So I could see it easily being, that was just a fluke week 1 for them. Coming out week 2, being a little bit more better. So Houston, they just don't have the weapons, don't have the talent. So I really don't like either of these teams, but I think I got to go with Bears. I think Bears will get it done. Over under, again, 40 seems low. Bears only put up 10. Houston's only put up 9. I can see why it's low. I'm actually surprised that at 40, being the last 2 games, are just a lot lower than what like the Browns and Steelers were at. So may look at taking that over for them as well. Moving on to Las Vegas Raiders versus Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans look like they suck this year. Derrick Henry just hasn't been able to get the ball rolling, running. Can Raiders have been close too. With their, they're 0-2 as well. So one of these teams is going to end up, with a win finally. I think Raiders are going to take it. I like that it's only -2. I don't like the over-under because that's 45.5, and I mean, Raiders can kind of score, but Tennessee Titans just haven't been putting up a ton. So if I lean more towards the under on this one than the over, I mean, it's right around the general average of about a 45-point game for NFL. So I'll probably stay away from the over-under on this one. I would look more towards taking Las Vegas at the minus 2.5 if that's still available. These numbers I got are opening, week numbers after Monday night's game. So these are what the lines I wrote down. Next one is Kansas City versus Indianapolis Colts. Right now, Kansas City 6.5-point favorites. I think this line has moved a little bit too in the favor of Colts. Actually, I want to say it's dropped a little bit to like 6 or 5.5. I don't know. I think it's still 6. Over-unders at 50. I mean, I could see Kansas City putting up a bunch of points. Colts is another team that just was expected to do a lot that hasn't. I'm just going to stay away from this game. I mean, I lean towards Kansas City taking the 6.5. If I could, but I mean, unless Colts turn it around, I see Kansas City covering this. I'll be surprised if they don't. So, still got 1:00 games. Hopefully, this one will be a good matchup to finally see if someone can contest the Bills. We got Miami versus Buffalo. Right now, Buffalo is 6.5-point favorites. I do think this is going to be a high-scoring game, which the lines think that too, but at 52.5. I don't think it's quite going to be as gunslinging as what the Ravens versus Miami game is. Miami's, I don't think, is going to be able to do like what they did against the Ravens, where they came back from a 21-point deficit. So I'm staying away from this spread just because I hope it's an action-packed game. I'd stay away from over-under just because that seems it's getting up there high. I think they can get over it, but I'm just going to stay away for now. Going on to Detroit versus Minnesota. This game has me scared a little bit as Detroit, looked really good against Washington. And then they had the close win against Eagles, or close loss, I guess I should say, against the Eagles. Vikings got beat 24-7 was the final of that game between the Eagles last week. It was a primetime game. And Kirk Cousins, for some reason, is not very good when it comes to primetime games. He's just seems to struggle a little bit with them. Just can't get this momentum rolling. So I look for them to bounce back a little bit in this game, come out, be tougher. I think it's still going to be a close game. I kind of lean to taking the plus points of the Lions just because they always like to keep games close. Over-unders at 52.5. I again lean over on this one. Just because of always seems Lions teams put up points. I mean, they'll have a couple games in the year where it's not very high, but I see this being definitely like a 27 or 31 for the winning team to 24-ish, something like that. So I see I say field goal, maybe a touchdown. I see more like 2 field goals. So, like I said, I'm leaning towards the plus 6.5. But I'm going back to my old rule since I bet on the Lions last week, and that was the only one that screwed me. And we'll get into that here at the end. But that's the only one. So it seems like in the past, anytime I bet against the Lions or with the Lions, I always am on the losing side. And I guess that's what I am for being a Lions fan. And so I'm going to stay away from betting on this at all. But I'm leaning towards Lions 6.5. If I was to place a bet, and then the 52.5, I'm looking at the over. Still on 1:00 games, we got Baltimore versus New England. Man, I want to take Baltimore in this. I think they're going to be bummed from last week's loss, losing it there right at the end. I'm surprised that's only 43.5, but New England normally does have a pretty strong defense. If I had to take a line, I'm probably going to stay away from this one too, just because I don't have a strong feeling either way. I'm liking the 3.5 for Baltimore, or they're minus 3.5, and I like the over at 43.5. Let me go back through. I'm going to quick highlight what I am taking. So, quick run through so far. Our Thursday night game. one I like the most is the over at 38.5. That's Pittsburgh versus Cleveland. Houston versus Chicago. Oh, Chicago's favorited. I'm like the 2.5 for Chicago, and I like the over at 40. Las Vegas versus Tennessee. I like Las Vegas at 2.5, and I'm staying away from the over/under. And I'm not really doing any money lines. I like the over for Kansas City in Colts at 50 and 6.5 points. And it's for Kansas City to cover. I like Buffalo to cover 6.5. I'm staying away from the over/under. I think they'll get over it, but I'm not 100% sure with Bills' defense on Dolphins if they'll be able to score enough. Detroit and Minnesota. If I had to take something just to kind of keep this, if I took something, I'm not actually betting this, but just for what I'm going to say on this, I'm going to highlight it, is the over at 52.5. Baltimore, New England. I like Baltimore at 3.5. I think they could get the over, but I'm going to stay away from it. And now on to Bengals versus Jets. Jets just got their win last week. A pretty good win at that. So, and Burrow's been struggling. They haven't been looking great. Hey, so I don't like the 5.5. I think they'll cover it. I really don't like the over/under at 45 because it's right at where I think is the average. So I go back and forth looking at these. I can't really decide. I think I'm just going to stay away from this game altogether. I'm leaning towards the Bengals. They just lost to Cowboys, though, and that was with their backup quarterback, so I don't know. So I'm just going to stay away. We'll go Philly versus Washington. Philly should cover this 6.5. I'll be surprised if they don't. So this is another one. I would take the 6.5 points. The minus 6.5. And then, let's see, over/under is 47. Yeah, Eagles have been putting up points. So I like the over as well. Then moving on to New Orleans Saints versus Carolina Panthers. We got minus 3.5 for the Saints. Over/unders at 40.5. Man, if Caleb was here, I'm sure he would talk a lot more on this. But I think Saints are going to cover the 3.5. I'm sure Caleb might disagree with me, but Baker just hasn't impressed me. And I think they'll get over 40 points, 40.5 points. I see it being like a 27-17 type of game. So mark that, 3.5 for Saints, and over 40.5. I'm liking a lot of the overs right now. And NFL's still crazy, so it's probably going to come back to bite me in some of these games. But moving on to 4 o'clock games, we got Jags versus Chargers. Chargers are right now 7.5 point favorites. Now, I'm pretty sure he's all right, but Herbert did have a questionable on the fantasy, I noticed. I haven't heard too much about it. So they just had a tough game with the Chiefs. If I was to take this, I would prefer, because Jags just did get a pretty nice win over, who was it? Colts, I think it was they played. They shut them out, so that was pretty impressive for them. And so I think this game is going to be better than what a lot of people think. I would prefer it to be more of a 6.5 point or the 7.5. Chargers should be able to cover, in my opinion, but I think it's going to be interesting. Chargers put up 24. Jags put up 24 on the Colts. I like them to be over. Well, no, I'm gonna stay away from the over under 47.5. That's again right about where I put them. If it was more like a 45, I would take it because I put them right around a 47. Again, like a 24. Whoever gets 24 points kind of first would go win. So I'm gonna stay away from this one all around. Not taking one at all. Other 4 o'clock game: Rams versus Cardinals. Hopefully Rams are back moving since they're one of my teams that I think will do the repeat for the Super Bowl. And Cardinals, they just haven't started out the greatest. I think they're still trying to find their flow. Let's see. They did win in overtime against the Raiders. So they're 1-1. And Rams that they're playing is 1-1. Oh, man. Right now, the line is sitting at 3.5 for Rams. So, I want Rams, but it's at the Cardinals. So that makes me a little bit nervous. I like Rams. I'll take the 3.5 for the Rams. I wish it was 3. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a good game. So I'll highlight the 3.5. And then over under 48.5. They're both teams that can score. So I like the over. I think this is going to be a plus 50 type of game. So I'm kind of surprised it's not like a 50-point line. So we got a game that I don't think is going to be very good, and that's at a couple of the bird teams, Atlanta Falcons versus the Seattle Seahawks. It's 2.5-point favorites for Seahawks. That's where I would go. At this point, though, I would probably lean, I wouldn't touch the spread. I would probably lean more towards money line on this than anything. At 2.5 points, you're pretty much taking the one that wins. And so we got, Falcons did play tough, though, against Rams. They're just one of those teams that just can't quite get it done. So I'm going to take Seahawks 2.5. I like the over as well in this one, which is 42 points. So again, I don't know why I'm liking all these overs. Again, I think it's going to turn around and bite me, but definitely now that I'm trying to track it, so I'm going to be probably horrible on my picks. So last 4 o'clock game we got is Green Bay versus Tampa Bay. Right now, Tampa Bay's favorite by 1.5 points, so it's basically a pick 'em. So, I'm going to stay away from spread on that just because it's so close. Also, like I said, it's pretty much a pick 'em. So, 41.5. I think they'll be over that as well. Man, I'm either going to be a bust or I'm going to be really good. So, if you were to take anything, I would probably take money line on Green Bay. I think Green Bay's going to pull it off. So, if I had to pick on the spread side, I'd probably take the 1.5 points, just give me a little bit of security. But, I think there's, with Mike Evans out, I think there's just some struggling stuff going on at Tampa Bay. Who knows? Tom Brady's good and everything. I think he does pretty good with keeping his personal life separate from the football life, but at the same time, it's hard to do. So, wouldn't surprise me if there's some issues going on there. Moving into the primetime game, Sunday night football is the 49ers versus Denver with Jimmy G back. They looked pretty good when he came in, so I'm going to lean that way. That one is only a 1.5-point favorite, too. So, again, I'd probably look money line. It's about the same versus that. I guess I would take the 1.5 points just because I think they're going to win by more than that. So, I'll take on that side the 1.5 just because that's a little bit better odds in my favor, a little bit more money my way. Hey, if that half-point screws me, I'm going to be pissed. But over under 45, I'm just going to stay away from that because that's about where I put this game. And then Monday night, we have Dallas versus Giants for Monday night. Is the only Monday night game this week. Man, Giants look good this week. I guess Dallas did too for having a backup quarterback and stuff, so I can't fault either one here. This is another close one. I lean towards Giants, though. I'm going to take the minus 1.5 with them and hope that works. This is such a low over-under. I got to take over. For only being at 39 points, I gotta just take that. So 1.5 for Giants, and then over by 39. And that's all my picks this week, I guess. Next week, hopefully I can get the boys back in. We can get them back talking. And that way I can have them, with their picks. We'll mark down their picks too, so that way we can see how we're doing, from week 3. But I'll jump into our bet. So last week, Austin's bet was a 7-leg same game parlay. He had Juju Smith to have anytime touchdown, did not hit. 44.5 receiving yards, did not hit. Patrick Mahomes to have a plus 2 passing TDs. He had exactly 2, so that was a push. Justin Herbert to have plus 2 passing yards or passing TDs, that hit. Plus 250 passing yards for Mahomes, that did not hit, but Herbert did hit for over 250. And then each team to have over 2.5 touchdowns. Both teams did have that. So, and I said he would get 5 out of the 7 legs. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, there was 8 legs. So I said he would get 5 though. And he had 4 right and 1 push. So I'm gonna count that as a win for me. And then going on for this week's pick, he's doing a 3-game parlay. Odds become plus 595. So I did round these up. So $5 to win, basically $35. He took Detroit Lions plus 6 points, Kansas City Chiefs minus 5.5, Baltimore Ravens minus 2.5. And he did this today, and we all did our bets today. So if the lines are a little different than what I just read off on everything, that makes sense. So I'm guessing too he had an odd boost because I kind of put the same parlay together and it didn't seem to do the same for me. So we'll move. So hopefully he can hit that, and that would put him right now. He's minus 10, so it'd put him, if he hits this, up by $25. Then we have Caleb's bet. So last week Caleb took a 5-leg parlay. He took Carolina money line, Steelers money line, Vikings money line, Seahawks plus 9.5. and Chicago plus 10. Did not hit a single one. So this week, he's backed it down a little bit. He's doing a 4-game parlay. Odds are plus 334. So $5 to win 22. Again, rounded up just a little. So he took Eagles money line, Chiefs money line, Ravens money line, and Chargers money line. So right now he's minus 10 on the season, and so it would put him up to $12 positive if he hits this. And then we got to pull up mine. So mine was close. So I did a 4-game teaser, or 4-leg teaser. So Steelers plus 8, which hit. Dolphins plus 9.5, that hit. Panthers plus 8, which hit. And then the only one that didn't hit was the Commanders. The Lions screwed me by winning by so much. Plus 7.5. So this week I'm doing kind of the same thing, just this one's only a 3-game. I did an alternative spread, so I didn't tease them down exactly. I just kind of went in and chose different point spreads. So I took Eagles minus 3, Vikings minus 3, and Bills minus 3. So we'll see. I did take another Lions versus Vikings game, so this is probably going to come back and screw me. But I'll win $18 if that hits. So that would put me up $8 if this hits. So that's all I got this week for NFL. And we'll be back hopefully next week with the boys in the studio. Peace out till next time.